Don't fight the church. Don't fight the church. You see, the church of God is God's investment on earth. Now, people come into church. Instead of carrying a blessing, they carry a curse. People come into church and see that it is just a gathering of people, and therefore they can do anything, they can behave any way, and they'll still go scot-free. It's not true. Anybody that fights the church of God, the wrath of God comes on such a person. And sometimes when that wrath is coming, it doesn't affect the person alone. It affects everything the person owns and holds dear to himself. And so we must make sure that we are not in the company of those who stands against the church. Are we together? So in the church of the wilderness, where Moses was in charge in Numbers chapter 16, verse number 28, let's say from 27 to 30. The Bible says that there were 3 men who rose up against Moses in the wilderness. That was a church in the wilderness. Abiram, Dathan, and then Korah. And these guys stood against Moses and stood against the work Moses was called to do. And the Bible said, Abiram, Korah, and Dathan, they died, and there, that's uncommon. The earth opened and swallowed them and closed up. We also saw that Nehemiah, there were men who stood against Nehemiah as he was building the wall in Jerusalem. They rose against him, they laughed at him, they mocked him, because they were enemies of the cross. Are we together? And then in Acts chapter 9, verse number 5, when Paul met God whilst on his way to Damascus to go and persecute the church. Because Paul was persecuting the church of God. He was rising against the men and women who were preaching Jesus. And whilst he was going on his way, and God, Jesus arrested him, the light shone on him and he fell on the floor. And the voice spoke to him. Paul asked, "Who are you?" The voice replied, "I am Jesus, the one you are persecuting." Paul was not persecuting Jesus per se. He was persecuting people who were preaching Jesus. But Jesus said, "You were persecuting me." He has done that. And Jesus said to Paul that you cannot kick against the prick. It means that you cannot use your leg and give a tongue and not be hurt. So what it means is that anytime a man stands against the church of God, the person becomes a casualty to God. And how do we stand against the church? Discouraging people, mocking others, doing things to make sure that the ministry and the things that is being done, it is impossible to do it. Are we here? Good. So anytime you stand against any child of God or anything that the church is doing, you stand against him. You have become a thorn in the flesh of the church. You have become an enemy of righteousness. The Bible calls you an enemy of righteousness. Are we together? And said people, they don't end well. Said people don't end well. And so you may have a glorious destiny, but at the end of the day, you may not end well as a believer in the church. So anything that the church is doing, one of the things you can do is to support it. Is to support the kingdom, support the work of God. Encourage people who are doing something for the Lord. Encourage them, but rather not discourage them.